Welcome to the Referrals Podcast, the show designed to help everyone from the solopreneur to the Fortune 500 company win the referral game. If you want to build a company with an army of ambassadors and raving fans who speak highly of you and refer you willingly, you are in the right place. And now, here is your host, Michael J. Maher.
Hey, those cheesy grins were right there on the screen for you. If you're watching this on YouTube, if you're listening to it on podcast mode, welcome to Referrals Podcast. You're going to have to go check out the YouTube to see our two cheesy smiles that we start with. But hey, I am so excited about today's episode. This is Referrals Podcast, referralspodcast.com. This is about winning the referral game. And let's talk about a winner that we have today. I'm very, very excited about our guest today. And we are going to share how 3 days and a latte turned into $70,000. And I cannot wait to share that story with you. I can't wait for our guest to share that story with you. And before I do that, I have to give a huge shout out to Anna from St. Louis, Missouri. She said, yes, building relationships is an old concept, but the way Michael's program lays it out is just fantastic, practical, and easy to follow. Our business and personal growth has gone to a new level thanks to 7L and the Referrals Podcast. The Referrals Podcast is an amazing opportunity to go back to basics, learn new trends, and keep up to date with the latest ideas. It's been a pleasure to see this grow so much since we first met in St. Louis when the book was published and we first went to the Generosity Generation events. Anna, woo! Thank you very much for the shout out. You should be writing copy for our show. That was amazing. But without further ado, I have to bring on someone that I have, I don't know if we've known each other longer than 5 or 6 years, but in the last 5 or 6 years, she has impressed the living heck out of me. Oh my gosh, it must have been close to 10 years. She just showed me a first edition copy of 7L that was signed by me. So we've known each other for 10 years, but the last 5 more, I've seen her grow. And that's the beauty of Facebook is that, you know, the problem with social media is the jerks get revealed, or maybe that's a good thing. But the other good thing about Facebook and social media is that you learn about these people who are freaking awesome. And that's who we have today. And I have to tell you, if I had one word to describe Amy at this point, from what I've seen in the last 5 years, it's growth. And I have to tell you, I'm not sure if there's any bigger compliment that I could pay to someone than being about growth. She's grown so much in the last 5 years, and I've watched it and I've seen her be so transparent about her growth. I truly believe there's no such thing as success or failure. There's only growth. You grow through success, you grow through failure, and we need to remember there's no such thing as success or failure. You don't know how to judge what happened to you at the moment. It might feel like a success, might feel like a failure, but I have found that we just need to appreciate it all because it's all growth. And so without further ado, I want to bring on Cincinnati, Ohio realtor, one of the most generous people in the world, one of the most referred professionals, not just in Cincinnati, Ohio, but in the entire United States. Amy Broghamer, welcome to Referrals Podcast.
Michael, I'm honored to be here. I'm so excited to talk to you today, and I can't wait for you to make me reveal all my vulnerabilities.
Well, you are so humble and so awesome. I will tell you, she is also a best-selling author of Playbook for Success that everybody who's listening to this needs to go and get on Amazon. There it is, The Playbook for Success by Amy Broghamer. It is a fantastic book. I get asked to endorse probably 12 to 15 books a year, and I typically endorse 2 or 3 of those. And I endorsed Amy's book wholeheartedly, read every page of it, enjoyed every page of it. And I wholeheartedly right now endorse it. And I think everybody, Playbook for Success. Who doesn't need a Playbook for Success? Everybody needs it. Amazon, you can get it through ebook. You can get it through Audible. However you want to get it, you can get it. But the bottom line is you can order it through paperback and have it delivered to your house like a Christmas present. It will be the best present ever. So best-selling author. But today, we're actually going to reel it in a little bit. And Amy, the first thing I want you to talk about is just like how you got started into the real estate business, and especially like not just as a realtor, but as a business owner. What's that evolution look like? Kind of like start at the beginning here.
Yeah, so I've always been in sales my whole life. I've sold Tiffany lamps, leather coats. I got out of college and started selling software, copiers, fax machines, then cardiovascular medication, and my head was hitting the glass ceiling. Luckily, my mom is and was a real estate agent, and so I saw that, but I resisted it for as long as I could until I realized that there's no better way to make money. And so I started selling real estate in 2005, and I've been doing it ever since, and it's been the best thing that I've ever done, and it's just been a very rewarding journey.
Yeah, so 15 years in the business, and were you always such a learner? You know, it just seems like what I've seen in the last 5 years is you're going to conferences, you're in trainings, you're doing trainings, you're teaching it, you're learning it. It's almost like you put the pedal to the metal, you know?
Yeah, so I've done that my whole real estate career. I've had to teach myself how to do this. And so I started very early with the CRS network and getting as much as I could from that. And I think I might have met you at one of those events. Prior to starting in real estate, I mean, obviously when you're selling medication to doctors, you have to be very sharp and very prepared. But, you know, I came from repeating the second grade. I came from dyslexia, and I was diagnosed with ADD in my after my kids were born. So I've had challenges in learning, but that never stopped me. And in fact, being in a sales and personal growth environment is the best thing for me. And there are people that are smarter than me that aren't doing these things. So smarts doesn't matter. It's learning something and then it's implementing that thing.
That's right.
Because you can know a lot, but if you don't do anything with it, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's just entertainment, right? Learning without implementation is just entertainment, you know, and, you know, that's the lie, LIE. Learning without implementation is just entertainment. And so quit lying to yourself, get implementing, right? And you are a master implementer. And so I want to fast forward a little bit, right? Yeah. So you've been successful. You've done very well in this business. You wrote Playbook for Success, very successful book. And then kind of like January of 2019 happened, you know? And so, yeah, go ahead.
It was actually a year before that.
Okay. So January of 2018. Yeah. So
that's when, yeah.
So tell us kind of like, bring us up to that part, right? So you've had 13 years in the business and kind of bring us up to that point of January 2018.
So I have to say, you know, just as a baseline, you know, our business is very steady. We are two mothers of young children. So our goal is to stay steady. So we do about 40 to 50 transactions a year. That's about 12 million in sales. Every year, over and over and over, very steady. We're not trying to kill ourselves. We're not trying to cause problems in our family, right?
Yeah.
So we have been continuing to meet our goals every year. And I said to my team at the end of 2017, I said, here's the thing. If we can meet our goals in November or by November, we're going to just kind of take December off. Right? And that was my goal all year, to take December off.
Yeah.
Now, of course, except for the first Saturday in December, which is my Santa photos event, we totally kicked back. Right?
Yeah.
Biggest mistake I've ever made.
Yeah.
So we lost the momentum that we had, that we needed, that we were used to. And January 18 came along, and not a whole lot going on. Also, it was one of the hardest sellers markets that we've had in a long time. So there wasn't any inventory there. It was just very challenging.
So it was one of those where you think that the shutdown and maybe even in November going into December, right? As you're thinking about, you know, sometimes we think about taking it down Well, the thinking about taking it down takes a month, and then taking it down is the other month. And so it's really like a 2-month.
Then you got to take
hiatus.
it back up.
That's right. And you lose momentum. And honestly, that's what we talk about on this show all the time is how do we keep the energy and momentum in our database? And how do we keep the energy and momentum in relationships? And it's so key. The problem is like after the closing, especially in real estate or lending, is it's like you're talking every day during escrow or during that transaction process. And then you're like, oh, and the communication goes to almost nothing. I don't have anything to say or an excuse to call or whatever it may be. So there's no energy in the relationship, which leads to no referrals, which leads to you having to reinvent the wheel every single time instead of keeping the wheel turning. So that's been like the yearly appreciation plans and some of the things that you describe in Playbook for Success is that it's like we got to keep that energy and momentum going everywhere, in our database, whether it's internet leads or expired or FSBOs or whatever it may be. But we have to keep our energy going and put our energy into the business. So interesting enough, there's a lesson there for people that, hey, listen, don't reward yourself with maybe a month off unless you have like 6 months in reserves at least. So how did you react to that in January 2018? Like what was the feeling around the office and how did you respond to that?
Yeah, so we're just always used to having pending sales on the board. We're always used to having a full pipeline, and we did have a full buyer pipeline. We just didn't have any houses we could sell them.
Right.
We don't like not having pendings on the board. We're used to always having some. And the end of January happened, and now we're into February, and I'm not happy. My financial advisor husband that's managing our books is like, what's going on? What do you have coming? What's pending? And so we're like, oh my gosh. Because, I think real estate is like usually a 60-day turnaround from getting money in the bank.
Yeah.
So, I knew that we weren't looking at anything until April at that point. And so I had been online on Facebook, I'm sure, and I randomly came across you doing a webinar on Catalyst. And of course, I know you, and you have a lot of authority in my book. So I started listening to it, and I'm like, you know what? I need to do this because this is what's going to give me the kick in the butt. And Michael, this is an important point. I knew almost everything that you were saying in Catalyst. Mm-hmm. And I still bought it and paid for it because I knew that would reinforce, that would re-engage, that would reconnect me with all the things that I knew I needed to be doing and do it again. Mm-hmm. So that was an investment that I made in myself and in my business to kickstart it. And I was there every week and I did everything and I got into action.
Wow. So what did you do first? Like, I think one of the best things about trainings or signing up for something like that, and you were signing up from a place of scarcity, really, from the aspect of, oh crap, I don't have a ton, but I'm going to make the investment anyway, which is a scary place to make an investment. It's easy to sign up for Catalyst when you just had a $25,000 closing, right. But when you're at no closings, you're like, okay, but here's what I find is that people who sign up out of scarcity sometimes get more out of it than the people who sign up out of abundance, because they're like, they have to make it work. They have to make it work.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. You have to make the money back for sure.
So what did you do first?
So, I heard about the idea of the We Love You Latte on the first call. Yep. And I am, I don't know if you've heard of StrengthsFinder, but one of my top things is an activator. So the minute I get an idea, I'm like, when can we start? Let's do it, That's right. So the week of Valentine's Day, that week, February 15th was a Friday that year.
Were you an Event Master? I don't mean to interrupt.
I didn't know about Event Mastery. Okay. I took Catalyst first. And then the next year in January, I did Event Mastery, and then I did it again this year. It's a great refresher.
Yeah, thank you.
But I heard about We Love You Latte at the Catalyst. And I was like, we're doing this. We are doing this. And I already know the power of what an invitation can do. And just putting an invitation in front of somebody is key. This is actually the invitation for this year's We Love You Latte, our third. Nice. And again, It's just my logo. It's just simple and easy.
Powerful.
And we, go ahead.
I'm just like, I have like 9 questions for you. I mean, it's like, you're talking to me. So you're like having this assumption that, Michael kind of knows all about these different things, but our listeners don't. Right. Okay. So it's like, first of all, what is an I Love You Latte or a We Love You Latte or a Thanks a Latte event in a nutshell? Like, what do you mean when you say We Love You a Latte? That's kind of a cool coined phrase, but what is it?
It's a super easy event where you just invite people to meet you for coffee at a certain time and place and day.
And it's not for one person, right? It could be for many people.
Exactly.
Who did you invite?
Every single person that I knew. I went through my entire phone book, my address book. I've sent bomb video, everything.
I love it.
We had nothing else to do. So for 3 days, we all only invited for this event.
What did you discover in the invitation sequence, right? We talk about the invitation sequence, the confirmation sequence, event sequence, and then follow-up sequence. And in my book, maybe the most powerful part of the entire thing is the invitation sequence. What did you discover through getting back on the phone and emailing and doing? I loved your use of bomb video. What was the power of the invitation, or what you found through that process? What did you discover?
So it doesn't matter who comes to the event. I mean, that's just a side benefit. The goal is to get your invitation in front of as many people as possible, because it shows that you're thinking of them and you're inviting them to something that's not asking them for business. It's offering them a free coffee. And that in itself is kind of like a reciprocation thing. Like, here, I want to buy you a coffee. Then they give you a little bit of their time or give you the time of day or some type of response, right? Yeah. And just starts a conversation. It just opens a dialogue about Valentine's Day or coffee, not about houses, Yeah,
they see you as a person as well as a professional. They all know you do real estate, so it's like, what kind of person buys everyone they know a coffee? A really generous, nice person. And once again, you're almost like implementing this out of a scarcity mode, right? I mean, once again, but I have to just like high five that you're making these investments in a way that it's going to pay off. First of all, I appreciate the trust that you had in me that this was going to pay off. But the other part of it too is that, there's so many people that are afraid to invest in their business. And so what they do is they invest in some type of internet lead generation, or they invest in a billboard, or they invest in some other marketing to stranger scheme. But if you're really in trouble, who is going to be the first group of people to help you? It's going to be friends and family. So the bottom line is the first place that, in my opinion, of course, is that the first people we should go to are friends and family. And, these aren't client events that we talk about. These are friends and family events. Do you get clients from friends and family events? Most likely. So I have to applaud, that you are investing in this. And the nice thing is it doesn't cost a lot to send invitations, So how did you invite people? So we'll kind of stay at that point, right? How did you invite people?
So I had everyone on my team be responsible for sending out 200 invitations, making 200 connections. Now, I made a lot more, but that was a lot for them. And basically, I just created an image with Google presentation, and it was very basic, a lot like this one. And it invited them to this, at the time, it was the Starbucks by our house for a couple of hours. And that was all it was. It was just very basic. And it was just an image, and they would text it out. They could email it. They could, send it after a phone call, whatever that may be.
I love that. And a great point here is many times people ask me, are paper invitations required? And and I think you've brought this even in the Catalyst group and brought this up several times on Catalyst, is you need to do the paper invitation, even if you're never going to send it by paper, because you can send it and show it so many other ways. You can, like you said, you send it by email, you send it by text, you put it on social media, and you had it kind of to hold yourself, but did you even send out actual physical invitations?
I started inviting people on a Wednesday and the thing was on Friday morning. So there was no time to send a physical invitation. I had to get into action and use what I had the fastest way possible to get it to as many people.
Yeah, you're very resourceful, and that's the sign of somebody that's successful is people are like, I can't, I won't, whatever, and they're like, I don't have money, I don't have time, I don't have whatever, and it's like those are resources. That the key to success is resourcefulness, like taking what you have and making do with what you have. In this case, it would have cost $1,000 or more to do the physical invitations and a lot of time, and it probably wouldn't have had the effect that the phone calls, the text messages, and the video did. And it's amazing to me that you did this on Wednesday and you were inviting everybody to literally that Friday.
Yes.
So they had 2 days notice.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So that's a wow. And by the way, not something that we teach at Referco. I'm just right. But
I do not do that anymore.
Yeah. So 6 to 8 weeks would be great.
Yes.
But here's the thing. Is it better that she did it?
Better than nothing.
That's exactly right. It's better that you did it in 2 days than not at all. So how many people came to your I Love You Latte or We Love You Latte?
Well, can we back up and say that we invited over 600 people?
Oh yeah, that would have been one of my questions. So you invited 600 people.
Yep, we had two-way contact with over 150 of those people. So that means they said thanks for the invitation or just acknowledge it in some way.
Yeah.
Started conversations with people. They're like, how are you? What are you up to? How's the market? Which is all we really wanted.
That's right.
All in all, I think I still have the pictures on Facebook because I posted them all. We did selfies with everybody that was there. Not everybody, but a lot of people. There were maybe 18 people that came.
Yeah. So you got 600 people that were touched 3 or 4 times in 3 or 4 days. And you had less than 20 people show up. What did it cost you?
$60.
$60. All right, drop the mic, literally. I mean, like, come on now, so, but here's the thing. You had a lot of conversations. You had less than 20 people who took you up on it. And you spent $60, probably bought a couple strangers a coffee too. And you did it the day after Valentine's Day, right? I mean, kind of like it makes a lot of sense. A lot of things like really jive here. So what were the results above and beyond that?
Hey there, it's Amy B. I'm the guest today on the Referral Podcast with Michael Maher. I am also the author of the best-selling book, The Playbook for Success, Fundamentals to Succeed in Business and Life. As a thank you to Michael and everyone listening today, I would love to share with you my favorite book list. These are books that have made an impact over the last 15 years of my real estate career. They've helped to fuel the referral-based business that I have and fuel the type of authentic real estate talks and training that I write and deliver. Get my book list at www.amyb.com/book list. That's www.amyb.com/book list.
Yeah. So again, we had a lot of supporters that came. The people that came were like our vendors,
ambassadors.
Quality people that we could count on. And I'll be honest with you, we didn't get any referrals at the event. Right. We definitely started a lot of really great conversations on the invitation that got us things. But I think one of the most important things is that it got us into action. It got us re-engaged. It got us started again. It got us communicating with people. It got the conversation started, and it just started up the key to our car for the year. And, you know, I think it was something like we had something like 16 properties under contract by the end of March or the beginning of April. So it just allowed us to focus and concentrate.
And it created an energy. It created an energy, you know, and you had overcome inertia. And I have to tell you that I'm seeing that even in the marketplace today, you know, first quarter 2020, and you're seeing people who set these really lofty goals because probably some idiot coach told them to double their goal. But bottom line is, and so they're not achieving their goals. You know, what's funny is they're probably on a growth path or trend, but they're like, so like, oh my God, I can't make it. So they go into shutdown mode, and we can't go into shutdown mode. It's one of those where we got to do something. And 7L, we have this other side of it, which is success suicide, which is, you know, it's like you start doing things and then you get really successful, and like you stop doing the things that made you really successful because you have these things that you now have to do, or sometimes you get sick, or sometimes you get a really good opportunity that's a distraction, whatever it may be. And so you had 16 properties, and then you had a really big May that year.
It was June, yeah.
June,
so I had it was actually $71,000 month in June.
Yeah.
And that was the biggest month I've ever had. You know, I aspire to having $100,000 month.
There you go.
So I'm not there quite yet, but heck, I'll take 71.
Let's do it.
I mean, that's okay with me. So that allowed me to, you know, and I mean, obviously we had income coming in March and April and May, but that really allowed me to refund my reserves, get back on track with everything, and just keep that momentum moving through the rest of the year. And so
yeah. So, and you have an event checklist for the Love You Latte event?
Are you talking about the download?
Yes.
It's for the Santa photos.
Oh, okay. So let's talk about that. So let's go into, we did Love You Latte, and then you had 3 really good and big months. How did you continue that momentum?
So, you know, I just started taking Catalyst in January, and I heard about the Earth Day birthday.
Yeah.
And that sounded fun to me.
Yeah.
So I ended up having the Earth Day birthday at my house in the garages because it was raining.
Yes.
And my landscaper who does my lawn got the lawn ready, and he sponsored it, and we had the little trees and all of that. And again, another reason, an excuse to reach out to all these people and bring them in. And it was a great event, even though it was raining. We had ice cream, you know, I mean, it was great, and it kept our momentum going, and it kept us going, you know, into the summer.
So hold a second, you got to explain Earth Day birthday here as well, right? So what is the Earth Day birthday event, and when does it take place, and what's the gist of it?
Yeah, so Earth Day is April 22nd every year, and we chose a weekend around that, and just said for 3 hours, we're going to be here. We're going to be giving away ice cream. We're going to be having a little birthday celebration, and we're going to give away trees. So if you come, you can get one of these little trees, and, you know, you can plant it in your yard. And my landscaper paid for the trees. And let me tell you something about the landscaper.
Yeah.
So he sponsored the trees, and I luckily got my yard done by the 22nd that year. And after the event, a couple weeks later, he was like, "Hey, Amy, I got to tell you something about that event." He said, "I got 3 deals out of that." And he said, "You know what's crazy? None of the people were at the event." So they got the association from me to him from the invitation. The invitation. That's
Yeah.
it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The power of the invitation is underrepresented
Yeah.
by everyone.
Yeah, totally. They don't, and the thing is that it's so easy, and like anything, if it's easy to do, it's easy to not do. So I tell you, I mean, that doesn't surprise me at all. The invitations where the energy is flowing, and I talk about it all the time, the power is in the invitation. It's not the power is in the event is the excuse, but the power is in the invitation.
But everybody's afraid that no one will come to their event. It doesn't matter.
Which is great.
Really
the less
doesn't.
people that come, it costs you less money. It's about the communication, everything else. So, and the nice thing. So, to clarify on the Earth Day birthday, another thing that people need to know is Arbor Day is typically that week as well. Arbor Day is either the 16th of April or the 20th or whatever it may be. And, so what Amy's doing is giving away free trees for people to plant. And, you can get these arborday.org. You can get these a lot of different places. In her case, the brilliant move is to have the landscaper provide them. And it's a win-win for the landscaper because they can brand the bags that they come in and put a card attached to them. And I just from my own personal reference of doing these for 20 years, we've been on listing appointments where we're walking around the house and looking at the yard, and a lady goes, "You see those 3 trees right over there?" And they're like, 8 to 10 foot trees. And you're like, yeah. What about it? And yeah, those 3 trees were planted by me and my 2 children about 10 years ago from your Earth Day birthday event. And it's like, wow, are you going to take the trees with you to your next house? Well, no, I think we'll leave them here, but it's like, all right, we'll get you 3 new trees for your next house. But it's one of those where it's always amazing to me how well the Earth Day birthday is received, and how easy it is to deliver. And a lot of people don't know this about my story. I mean, just quickly is that, when I first did this, I had probably 150 to 200 people I knew. I invited all of them. Amy, I had 7 people RSVP, 7. And when I remember Jeff Holman, a friend of mine, came, he wasn't coming for the tree. He was a softball friend of mine, and he was coming just to say hi to me. But he came, and there were 3 trees left on the table. And he goes, "Oh my gosh, good thing I got here when I did. There's only 3 trees left." Well, he didn't know that there were only 7, in the beginning. So yeah, I'm like, oh man, yeah, good thing you came when you did, but it's one of those, what I discovered at that moment is it doesn't matter who comes, and if you have a lot of people coming, make them stay. If you have very few people coming, get them in and out. And that's the only difference on that is that with those, it was like, I didn't want them to stay long because then they'd realize nobody else was coming. But if you have, a lot of people are coming, have a hot drink or a cold drink that they're going to have to put in their hand for a little bit and try to get people to stay. But it's good when not very many people are coming. So, and it's a twig. I mean, that's what, people are like, you're giving away trees. And it's like this. So you got to wrap it in something green, tie a balloon to it, and then all of a sudden it's substantial, Yeah. So then you did Earth Day birthday, and then you followed Catalyst, sounds like very, very closely, is that then you had your 3rd event in the fall. Tell us about what that event was. Or did you have one before that?
So I did a little something different in the fall. I'm a big Halloween fan.
Yeah.
And so I did an online Halloween coloring contest.
Nice. Online Halloween coloring contest. Okay.
Yeah. So I used BombBomb to deliver the information. And I also used my Facebook page.
Okay.
And invited the same way, just directed people and had entries. And I was able to actually get new people in with this, not just people I already knew, because I was able to invite like my kids' classroom and that kind of thing. And so now I'm meeting more families that are in my community that's where I want to work.
Yeah.
So it was a great way to bring in some new families, which is my focus.
So were they all coloring the same picture?
They could choose one of 3 pictures.
Okay. And where did they get the 3 pictures? From Facebook?
So I had them attached to an email that I sent.
Okay.
Or they could click on something and print them off of Facebook. Yes.
Okay. And so they had to color them. I'm just asking, like, how did you run this? And then how did you see them? Did they take a picture of it? Did they upload it? Did they email it? What was that like?
So actually, my business page is Amy B Sells.
Okay.
And what I did was I put a post on there that said, hey, here's the contest. Here's the link if you need to get the pictures. All you need to do is take a picture of your cute kid smiling and holding the thing that they colored and post it in the comments.
Love it.
So then I had a bunch of pictures of kids smiling with their picture,
Mm-hmm.
and I was able to, those were the entries. And then I just wrote them out and drew them out of a hat, and it did a Facebook Live, and I had 6 winners for that.
Love it. And what did you learn through that process of having the coloring contest and everything about that?
The key to me is that I was able to grow my sphere very locally.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm not a star agent. I don't do all this. I just do this.
Yeah.
And then what that allowed me to do is get their contact information, get their address. And then, I can just send them invitations in the future for the rest of the things. Or, I have just this connection now. Now they're following my personal page or my business page, and I can communicate to them that way. And I actually did get immediately, so that was in October. In January, one of my kids' classmates' mothers called me to list their house. And I made $18,000 on that.
There you go. So,
and she literally, I said, how did you connect with me? And she said, the coloring contest. And they didn't even enter it. They
They just heard about it.
They just saw the paper, and that's it.
Yeah. And that's, but the thing is, once again, you're in valuable communication with your database, with your community. And this was also a little bit of a twist, is that it was heavily kids involved. Your first one was no kids involved. Your second one was kind of kids involved, but a tree is not a toy, so, and then the third one, you're heavily involved with the kids. And then you even branched that into your Breakfast with Santa, right?
Yeah. So when I would send them a thank you for entering the contest, on the back, I had a little promo kind of thing, like save the date for Breakfast with Santa.
That's a gem, is that when you are done with one event, at one event, you should invite them to the next event. Those who love to attend events, love to attend events. So get them kind of committed to your next event at the event they're at, and you're going to get a lot of yeses if you do that. So I love that. And so tell me about your Santa event. What are you doing with that? That's obviously an in-person event.
Yeah. So I think this year was my 11th year doing that. I just identified that I work with families. That's my people. And families need pictures with Santa. And so 11 years ago, I decided to have my friend's dad come, put his suit on, sit down, got a photographer, and just started taking pictures. And it last year, the 10th year, I printed all the pictures from all the years. And there was over 1,000 pictures. Just insane. And it's like an open house. And it's now at my house, because I have a better space for it, and I don't have to deal with booking anything during the holiday season. And they come, they sit on the lap, they have a cookie, maybe a donut, we chat, they leave. Mm-hmm. It's insane. I think we had over 60 families come through this year.
Wow.
It's insane. But it's our longest running event. It's our highest attended event because we have done it for so long.
That's right. And people are probably looking forward to it. They're literally asking you mid-year, what day are you doing your Santa? Because we want to make sure we make it.
Yeah. And so now that I took Battle Plan, I'm starting to get a little smarter about doing these things in advance, and I can prepare that information for people well in advance.
Yeah. So when they get there, are you doing any registration forms or door prizes with any of these events?
So I have experimented with the door prizes, and I did have door prizes at the Santa event in the dining room. I was not forcing people to go there. They just found their way there. And I had over 50 slips filled out.
Without it being like the registration table. It was more of an aside.
Yeah, I mean, we had so many people in the house that they were everywhere, and then they would end up in there, and then they would see that and they would fill it out. Yeah,
that's fantastic. So 50 forms filled out, you got updated information for your database, and did anybody give referrals at all?
We got 3 names.
3? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So without even pushing it, and the bottom line is, even if you got none, the fact that it's on there reminds people that the reason you can do these events is because of their referrals, and that you still want and need referrals, and you didn't have to ask for them, coming from an act of desperation or awkwardness, it's right there in print, and they understand it, and they're like, I'm at choice. I can put 0 names or 1 name or 3 names or whatever it may be. So I love that. Yeah. So that was 2018 in a nutshell. Correct? So if you looked at 2018 and 2019, how have you grown? Like, what are you doing differently than you were doing before?
Well,
if anything.
I am an efficiency psycho.
Yeah.
Systems, processes. So like, for example, I have this checklist, this Santa event checklist. I have been using the same checklist over and over and over for probably 8 years since I decided to quit reinventing the wheel the first couple of years. And, and I add to it or I subtract from it or whatever, but it's there. All I have to do is pull it up on my phone. I use this great app called Keep, and it keeps all my checklists. And, so it's how can I fine tune or make my process more efficient? I'm good with the amount of money that we're making, right? Mm-hmm. I'm looking for more time. Yeah. So if I can get more time and do less work and make the same amount of money with less time, that's my goal right now. That's how I grow. Yeah. And so this is one of those things where, I'm not spending money on advertising. I'm not spending money on online leads. Every lead I get that's a referral is 100% my money. I'm not having to give some online site, or I'm not paying $2,000 a month for a billboard or a website. Yeah. I spend all my money on people I know. Yeah. And all the money that I get from them is mine. Yeah.
And it's also not just, is it 100%, it's 100% under your control. So like, if you're buying leads, if they raise the price on the leads or your monthly fee, what kind of control do you have? You have no control. They can raise those fees 10 times, and if that's your pipeline, then you got to do whatever they say. And we've seen that. We've seen that with, some of these celebrity lead sources have gone from 30% to over 40%. Relocation has gone from 30% to over 50%. I mean, 50%, whoever's working for that, you're working for them, Yeah. So it's one of those where the nice thing is not only is that 100% the income, but it's 100% control. You have control. And the thing I think a lot that I hope what people get out of Referrals Podcast is that referrals are not by accident. They're not out of left field or out of the blue. They can be orchestrated, and they can happen organically on purpose. So it's one of those where I just want people to know, it's like, listen, you have control over this. You can make it out. You don't know maybe who will refer you, but you can make these referral opportunities happen. And, you know, Amy is a great testament to that. She's making these things happen and keeping the energy going in her database, and, you know, came from a place where kind of a down in the business, and which is, you got to realize she's a best-selling author. And sometimes when people get into a certain mode, they'll never admit to a mistake or a problem or be vulnerable or transparent because they have an ego attached around. I mean, you have to applaud Amy for how she's approaching this and how, you know, transparent and vulnerable she really has been. And you know what? That's when growth occurs, is
Yes.
when you have those moments. So, Amy, I mean, people are going to have to listen to this one like 3 to 5 times to really unpack all the nuggets out of it. And I didn't want to interrupt you. I mean, there were times when you like literally laid out 7 awesome things. And normally I'd be like, all right, we got to, I just did. There were so many that I couldn't, I couldn't even cover them all. So I hope people will listen to this over and over again. And I also hope that they get your book off Amazon.com. It's Playbook for Success. It's been a bestseller. It's written by Amy Broghamer from Cincinnati, Ohio. She is also open for business and open for your referrals. When you refer to her, trust me, your people will love you. Your clients will love you. They will love Amy. You will love Amy. And I love her latte, you know. So, Amy, I just have to say thank you so much for coming on. I have to tell you that just based on this one, we got to bring you on again. And this is my open invitation to, I'd love to get something scheduled down the road to just talk about and unpack some of the things that we didn't even get a chance to jump.
I would love it. I've had the best experience with Battle Plan. I've done so many different things this year that I've never done before that I'm excited.
Battle Plan was all private and secret. That was our secret group. So no,
I'm excited to tell you how it goes because I'm doing it right now and I'll be able to report back.
I love it. And I'll tell you the other thing too is you got to make Referral Mastery Summit happen. You know, Referral Mastery Summit in Arizona in October. I just, those are the peeps, right? Those are the ambassadors and champions of this world. And it's a special world. People that build their business by love, generosity, and appreciation. It's just everybody there's to share, and there's no ego. It's just it's a beautiful environment, and you fit perfectly, as you know. So, Amy, I appreciate you. Thanks for being on this episode of Referrals Podcast.
Thank you.
Hey, everybody. If you haven't subscribed yet, I hope this episode, if this episode doesn't convince you, then don't subscribe, because you'll never subscribe, and we're okay with that. But if this is your first episode, we welcome you to subscribe. If you enjoyed today, please rate and review it. And last but not least, if you like what you hear, share it, because you never know when that person who is a recipient of your share really needed that message in that moment. And I want you to know that I appreciate all of you as listeners, and those of you that actually have to watch me on YouTube. Bottom line is, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. And we'll see you on the next episode of Referrals Podcast.